Most people realize that everything in life changes. Nothing stands still. Things grow and decay. Without change, we would have no progress. That's why I thought that when a change was clearly for the better, people would welcome it. Well, here at work, I've learned that's not necessarily true. Let me show you what happened with 3 of my key people.
I knew it.
Dry. So have some cocoa or some tea and stop griping.
Wouldn't you know it? No coffee. The minute I put my money in there, it's dry. Bango, no coffee. I'm beginning to think I'm a real jinx around here.
Well, looks like everybody's got problems, huh? I was going to talk to you about helping Earl out.
And the water bottle's empty. No water, no coffee. What do they think we are down here, camels? Well, there's a couple of things they could change, and they wouldn't have any complaints from me.
What's this about the new equipment?
Bugs, that's what. Either that or my coordination isn't what it used to be. Now, I could come up with some improvements.
Well, look, man, I don't like cracking the whip, but something's got to be done. The production figures are probably in my office right now, and I don't have to look at them to know we're falling far behind.
I've done everything they've asked me to do, including moving.
No equipment is perfect the minute you put it in. It's bound to have a few bugs in it.
Look, they took all that into consideration.
On paper.
Well, they still expect you to use your head.
Well, I did it.
Did what?
Another half day's work in the scrap pile.
Oh, great. Boy, that's all we need.
Well, I think I know what's wrong now. I'll see it doesn't happen again.
I don't think we can afford any more mistakes around here. From anybody.
Maybe I haven't given this enough personal attention. Wait a minute. Didn't you miss one of the supervisors' meetings?
No, but I didn't stay to see the slides. I had to leave early.
Well, maybe I better show them to you before we go any further. It might be helpful.
But look, I wanted to talk about this. Now, theory may be all right, but I've got a practical problem to deal with.
All right. Are you having trouble with the new equipment, the procedures, the scheduling?
Well, somehow I feel the core of the problem is with my men.
They're resisting the change?
My 3 key people, the pace setters for the others, are bogging down more than the rest. Charlie, my assistant, Pop Davis, and Earl.
They're all good men.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I've been racking my brains to figure out what's bothering them. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, nobody can really understand why a person resists something until he can see the problem from the other person's point of view. As a matter of fact, that's the point of the slide film.
Well, maybe I better take a look at it.
Fine, fine. Very simple to operate. We don't even have to darken the room.
Sound and all, eh?
Sound and all. You see, I'm presenting these slides at the management meetings next month. And I've recorded my comments keyed to each slide. In that way, we can stop it or go backwards.
Good, then we can talk, too.
Yes, indeed. Now, I don't mean that this little film is the final answer to all your problems. It simply gives you some general principles. Naturally, you have to have a little ingenuity in applying them, some sensitivity and understanding of people.
Well, I think I know my people pretty well. I've never had any trouble with them.
You probably know your men better than you realize. But you might not have thought of some things you know as connected with their resistance.
Well, it's possible.
Why don't we skip the introduction, which is why we need this film, because obviously we do, and begin with handling the problem.
Fine.
Draw up your chair. All right. Here we go. The key to handling resistance to change is finding out what the change means to the employee from his point of view. Let's say this letter A represents something being done now, the old way. The new way represented by B. The process of change, then, could be pictured like this, at least from the boss's point of view. But how does the employee see it? Well, first, he may not know how to get from A to B. Or he may not know clearly what is expected. Or he may have a wrong idea of when, how quickly he must change. Until everyone understands what he is expected to do and how he is to do it and so on, little progress can be made in clearing up confusion and uncertainty which breed resistance to change.
I don't think we ran into any of those problems. Everybody knew what he was supposed to do.
Did something like this occur? Sometimes the boss may see the change one way, while the employee sees it a more direct, a better way. If the boss fails to consult the employee about how he would do it and insists that his own way is right, he may arouse resentment and resistance.
And he may also lose out on a good improvement.
Did anything like that happen?
Well, I may have made that mistake. When I called the men in to discuss the change, I asked them if they had any problems, but I guess I didn't leave the door open very far.
So they may have some ideas which we don't know about, some suggestions that could be helpful.
Could be.
Well, let's go on. The boss, then, sees the change like this. The employee uses the old way. If the boss communicates clearly, he believes the employee will use the new way, and that's all there is to it. But the boss may fail to see that he himself is also a big part of the picture from the employee's standpoint. The employee views the change very differently. His self-image may be threatened by the boss's actions. Does this apply to you in relationship to your men?
No, I don't think so. Possibly I've been a little abrupt, but not like that.
Well, don't forget, whenever you're in a position of authority, you could be seen like this. And when you propose a change, it is sometimes taken as a criticism of what has been the general practice. Well, anyway, let's go on. You notice that here the employee is pictured alone, first using the old way and then the new way. The boss frequently views each employee in this way, as a single individual. He may fail to see that the employee's relationships to other workers are important to him, and that the employee might see the change as affecting his standing with others in his group. Or the employee may see the change as essentially isolating him, either physically or in a social sense.
You know, it's beginning to ring a bell.
Yeah?
Well, I was wondering if Charlie, you know, my assistant, well, he used to have the office next to mine in this building. Well, now the change meant that he had to move over to the plant when I did. No, that's not very likely. The move didn't bother me. Why would it bother him?
Did he say anything?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he did. He called the new building Tombstone Gulch.
So we're going to be moved over to Tombstone Gulch.
Huh?
That's what the boys are calling the offices in the new plant.
We're not going to bury you, Charlie. We're take you out of your cubby hole and move you over in a place of your own. Well, I'll be leaving here, too, but we'll keep the work coordinated over there.
I suppose it should help. The guys do lose a lot of time in running back and forth.
Well, so do we.
Just how big are the changes in my operation?
Oh, they're not so bad. Here's a manual explaining the revised setup. Gives you a complete rundown on your new area and the new equipment. If you have any questions, we'll go over them together.
I'll let you know after I've looked them over. About this moving. Is that area over there really going to be adequate?
Well, there's more than you need, more than you have now. Well, let me know if you have any problems. Well, if that's what's causing his resistance, I sure missed it. He must have felt that the change was separating him from the friends he'd made over here. It's funny. I always thought of his old office as a cubbyhole myself. I thought the change was obviously good for him. I thought he was just being stubborn.
And, of course, he began to react to your own attitude.
Yeah, I'm beginning to see that. I sort of added fuel to the fire, didn't I?
Well, you did fan it a little.
Well, I'm beginning to see what you mean about the other fellow's point of view. If you don't understand it, then your own feelings can spark further resistance.
Right.
Would you mind going back to the last one?
No. Here?
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, you know, in a way, this could be Pop Davis.
How?
Well, he's an older man. He's highly skilled. He's earned a certain respect from his fellow workers over the years, and he knew our old equipment better than anyone else. I'm trying to think of what he said.
Get one thing mastered, and along comes something and makes that out of date. Looks like 20 years right down the drain. I'll be just a button pusher around here before long.
Well, that's not likely. You'll have a lot to do on this, but you'll handle it all right.
Oh, I suppose so. That's what makes life interesting. I guess.
You know, to Pop Davis, the changeover could very well have looked like that. He could have viewed it as threatening to himself as a highly skilled worker.
And he might actually be concerned about being displaced altogether.
Yeah, could be. You know, I'm sure that that's the way Davis viewed the change. Could we go on?
Yeah. Again, viewed objectively from the boss's standpoint, the change may seem simple enough for the employee to handle. But the employee may see it only as an added burden to his other problems, on and off the job.
Say no more. That's Earl. He has so many problems, anything new might look like more than he could handle. How did he put it?
You mean we're going to have problems with this change?
Oh, these endines are the best, though at first only, I understand. They are a little bit tricky.
Endines, huh? Well, they say they're the best.
No doubt about it. What's the matter?
Oh, nothing. Is with all the problems I've got, when you hear about something new coming along, you know.
Oh, you're going to be all right. Now, just stop worrying.
Well, that endine is a fine piece of equipment.
A couple of months from now, you'll forget we ever had any other.
Maybe. Well, I'll give it a try.
Okay, Earl. Do the best you can.
You know, as far as I'm concerned, if nobody ever changed anything, I'd be very happy. Well, not really, but it sure feels that way sometimes.
To Earl, the change must have seemed like, well, like one more burden. A straw that would surely break his aching back. Yeah, it's beginning to make sense to me. But now that I know why each of my men resisted the change, what can I do about it?
Well, first of all, we've spoken about the importance of communication, making sure the change is clearly understood. In the second place, you can do the same thing for your men that I've tried to do for you.
You mean let me come up here and get things off my chest?
Why not? You can provide an atmosphere where your men can ventilate their feelings, give them a chance to release some of their tensions. And whenever you've been wrong, it's no crime to admit your own shortcomings.
No, I suppose not. But is that enough? How can I get them really interested?
Well, would you like to see what the film strip has to say about that? I think that's next.
Sure. Let's have a look.
All right. People identify with existing ways of doing things, ways they know, at which they are most skilled, and which they feel are part of themselves. The unfamiliar, the unknown, or untried is foreign to them. It may be seen as a threat and arouse anxiety. These are some of the reasons why attempts to make people change often meet with resistance. On the other hand, a man is most closely identified with what he creates himself. If a man has had a hand in shaping something or improving it, he makes it, in a sense, his own. And if he feels his opinions are taken seriously, he gets a sense of participation.
I see. Then he's likely to feel that he has a part in the success or failure of the change.
Exactly. Providing an opportunity for participation is one of the most important ways of helping people to accept a change without having it feel threatening.
You know, I got some ideas from this that I'd like to try. Well, that session with Mr. Albertson really got me thinking. I went back to the plant eager to tackle the problem. But in my enthusiasm, I picked the wrong time, as well as the wrong place to start. Here's what I walked in on.
But, Charlie, how am I ever going to fill this order?
Figure it out for yourself. You can read the manual as well as I can.
Pop, how about you giving me a hand?
I'm sorry, kid. I got my own headaches. All these newfangled ideas. Boy, if they'd asked me in the beginning, I could have sure told them.
Let management find out for themselves. They always know what's best.
If Keith comes in here and sees this mess, he'll really blow his stack.
Well, where is he? He hasn't been around all day.
He's upstairs with Albertson, trying to get himself in good with the boss and save his own neck.
And we'll be the fall guys.
Yeah, and I'll probably be the first one to get canned. I just took on those extra payments. If I'd known this was coming up, I would have started looking for a new job 2 weeks ago.
Well, I wish I'd known all this was going to happen. I certainly wouldn't have put out like I did all these years.
Why don't you two knock it off? You both give me a pain.
There, look, friend, you can't talk to me like that.
Something go wrong? Man, I'm sorry I didn't get down here any earlier, but I've been tied up with Mr. Albertson. Well, I know this changeover's been pretty rough on all of you. I may have been in fault some, one way or another. If I have, I'd like to know about it. Well, my door's open anytime you want. Davis, you seemed upset about something when I came in. What was it?
Oh, just a personal matter.
Charlie, you fellas have a falling out?
Nothing important.
Well, I hope not. Well, now about this whole changeover, you know, there may be some things that I don't understand. I mean, from your points of view that, well, I haven't taken into consideration.
Simple enough. The new plans look good on paper, but our old ways were much better in practice.
That's right.
Too many bugs they've overlooked.
But look, this plan should work. Now, it has other places. Well, sure, there are bugs in it. No plan is perfect except on paper, but, well, I'm open to suggestions. And if any of you have anything you want to get off your chests, well, I'm going back to my office right now, and I'll give you as much time as you want.
Hey, Pop, you better get your tools put away if you want to beat that late traffic rush.
That's right, it is getting late.
Pop, mind if I ride with you tonight?
Of course not. Come on.
Well, I'll see you all tomorrow. I struck out but good in that first attempt. I couldn't have picked a poorer time, and I shouldn't have tackled them as a group. Worse, I felt myself getting impatient after my initial good intentions weren't appreciated. I saw the problem as just plain stubbornness on their part. I realized then that this was going to take some time to work out, and more than just talk. I'd have to prove myself in actions as well as words, and that couldn't be done overnight. The next morning, I went to my new office. As usual, Charlie was there to get squared away for the day. Hi, Charlie. Before we get started, I think there's something we ought to talk about.
All right, everybody and his brother knows the production figures in our department are way down. But that's no fault of mine.
Have a seat.
You don't have any chairs in here.
So, have a packing case. And, do me a favor and, relax.
What's the matter? You going batty or something?
Well, it may seem that way to you.
Oh, I don't get it.
Charlie, you know, I don't want to blame you for the drop in production figures, just the opposite. It's my responsibility. Well, how do you like the place?
It's not much bigger than mine. In fact, I think it's about the same size.
Well, the square footage is the same.
Oh, mine just looks smaller. It's all loaded down with stuff.
You know, you got a storeroom back there that we haven't even opened up yet.
Yeah. All that space going to waste.
What's on your mind?
Well, I was thinking. If we could get a sliding door in there in back of my office, I could put a showroom out there and get more product out in the open. When customers come through.
Good idea.
You really think so? That sliding door and lights would cost some money.
Well, I'll check the budget. Maybe I can authorize it.
I could make a great showroom out of that.
Right. You know, Charlie, you've been upset about this changeover for some reason. If there's anything on your mind, you can talk to me about it. I'll really make an effort to do something.
There's nothing you can do.
What do you mean?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I didn't like this whole move. I was beginning to make friends up in the front office.
And, then this feels like a come down, eh?
Well, not that exactly.
Well, what then?
This may sound kind of silly, but I was beginning to feel like one of the boys up there.
And now they, buried you in Tombstone Gulch, huh?
Yeah. Well, didn't it bother you? After all, you were in pretty solid up there.
Well, sure it did at first.
Well, then you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
I wouldn't brought it up if you hadn't asked me. I suppose it all sounds kind of foolish.
No, it doesn't. Hey, look, let's give Al and Dick a ring, and we'll all go out and we'll have lunch together, huh? Maybe it's not so far over there as it seems.
Yeah.
I made a little progress with Charlie, which was important, since his attitude had a great deal of influence on how the other men felt. But I wasn't out of the woods yet. That same morning, Earl came in late for the first time in months. On the job, he'd ruined some material and bruised his thumb. Later, he complained of not feeling well, and Charlie sent him home. Then Davis showed up at my office unexpectedly. He wanted a transfer. But, Pop, we don't want to lose you. You're my most experienced man.
Oh, looks like I've outworn my usefulness so far as this new setup goes.
No, not by a long shot. In fact, right now we're faced with a problem. I was just going to call you over. I know you've got some ideas about why this new equipment isn't working out.
The design isn't right for our operation.
Well, would it be much of a job to modify it?
Well, who's going to do that? It's what the plans called for on the changeover. It's the way Endine's engineered it.
Can I have the telephone number of the Endine Company, please? Yes, the engineer that installed our new equipment. Okay, fine. It's Keith Miner. Look, Davis, I really need your help on this. Could we postpone the discussion about the transfer for a while?
Why, I guess so.
I'd like you to make this your project. I'll get Endine's engineer out here, and you tell him what you want. Work with him on any redesigns and help him install the modifications so you're sure they're right. I'll back you up all the way, and so will Mr. Albertson. Is it a deal?
Well, if you put it that way, sure.
Fortunately, I was able to get Davis involved in making the modifications. He began to feel that his ideas and opinions were recognized and respected. In working them out, he developed a real feeling of participation. Though the actual changes turned out to be minor, he saw that his skills would still be needed. By that time, Earl had returned to work. His physical condition hadn't been too serious, just the result of too much tension. Earl was a good worker, and I didn't want to lose him. I knew he felt pressured by the changeover and saw no let-up in the future.
Things just aren't working out for me, that's all.
Well, look, Earl, I know it's been rough. Changeover like this always is. It's pretty hard to break old habits and start new ways of doing things overnight.
Yeah, but I'm not doing so good. Wasting stuff, making mistakes.
Oh, look, that's bound to happen. You know, I've been a little impatient. Maybe I've expected too much too soon.
But production is supposed to pick up, isn't it? I mean, better quality and faster and so forth. That's why they wanted this changeover, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, then I'm going to have to be even faster and better in the future, and if I've been working as hard as I can,
Well, look, Earl, it's a little harder on you now because you have to think out consciously every step you make. Anybody's liable to take longer at first, do things wrong occasionally.
Yeah, the old setup was a lot easier.
Yeah, but because you got used to it, and, well, with time, the new ways will become more or less automatic, too.
Yeah, I suppose that could be, only...
Yeah?
Well, when layoffs start, I might be one of them.
What layoffs?
Well, some of the fellas have been talking, and it stands to reason that if the new equipment is supposed to cut down on the workload, why, some of us won't be needed.
Well, I'll be. Look, Earl, I thought we got that squared away in the beginning. Now, the idea of a changeover is to increase production, not to cut down on people. Every man in the plant is needed now and will be needed in the future.
Really?
I can guarantee you that.
You mean if I weather this rough period, I'll still have my job?
Not if, Earl. When? Now, look, you've always done your work, and well. So, stick with it, huh? And stop worrying.
Thanks, Keith. I feel a lot better.
Well, after that, I made sure that Earl got support when he needed it. I asked Charlie to help him out and use every opportunity to make him feel part of the team. Also, I began holding sessions with my whole group. These helped clear the air, straighten out misunderstandings, and improve communications in both directions. Gradually, things began to straighten out. One day, almost a month later, I met Earl at the coffee machine.
Hiya. Mind if I join you?
Not at all.
I suppose you're wondering what's the occasion. How come little old Earl suddenly has time to relax?
Yeah, you were kind of floored by the changeover, weren't you?
Oh, that's the understatement of the week. For a while there, I thought I was going to flip my lid. But now I'm beginning to see a little blue sky.
You mean, somebody up there really likes you after all, huh?
You know, it's funny. I used to study the directions in that manual, read them over and over again, study the drawings, and still nothing. Then Charlie comes over, watches what I'm doing, and like a golf pro, spots what I'm doing wrong. A couple of days later, I'm really swinging.
Swinging?
Yeah, the stuff's coming off without a hitch.
You're always crediting Charlie for everything. You want to know why it's such a breeze now? Well, you can thank me for that, too, pal.
What do you mean?
Well, Keith here invited the electrical engineer from Endine's over to have a talk with me.
So?
So, we modified the equipment according to my ideas.
That's right.
And we've got a water fountain and a coffee machine that really works for a change.
Now, don't you start griping about this water fountain. It's brand new. You know, every time Davis here has a problem, he never comes right out and says anything about it. Just starts grumbling about the water cooler. I can read him like a book.
Oh, cut it out, Charlie. I got news for you. I haven't had a drink of water in years. I never touched the stuff.
You know, I believe it. Say, Keith, how are those production reports coming out now?
Oh, not too bad. A couple of weeks and we'll be really swinging. Well, things have changed around here. And maybe the greatest change has been in me. I've learned that I can't prevent or overcome resistance to change by others until I'm able to see how the situation appears to them. I've learned I can't expect people to change until I've established good two-way communication. And I found out I can't impose change. It has to be accepted. And will be accepted only when it isn't threatening, when it fits in with a person's self-image. And I found out also that I can help this process along best by getting people to participate in the change, to contribute to it, and help shape it themselves. Only in this way will change be feared less. Only in this way can change mean real progress for everyone.